So I always want to start this way because I think that it's important to do kind of a hero's journey for people, and we like to consider our guests data heroes. So what is your hero origin story? How did you get started in data management?
Oh gosh. Well, my previous role, I was sort of a marketing specialist that had a hand in everything. It started with doing our university program. And from that respect, I kind of did the social media, the marketing, the branding, got into doing trade shows for the organization, a lot of that sort of offline or more traditional marketing, but slowly started to kind of bring things together of reporting out, hey, we're doing social media, here's our likes, impressions, follows. I got into the marketing automation a little bit, just was trained enough to be able to go in and fire an email type of thing because it helped support my work in the university program. And so later I was able to move into a Marketo focus role. And so that's where once I had that ownership, that data became mine. And I was the one responsible for making sure that the data was clean, that it was going to the right place, it was syncing up to our CRM.
Nice.
And that was sort of the start of all of that. Went deeper and deeper from there. And then now as I've moved into my agency role, I'm often the one responsible for the data for some of my clients.
Yeah, that's great. So it's interesting that you sort of ended up there very naturally. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about how that looks for you from a college perspective, because we had a conversation earlier about how people get into these roles. Yeah. So what was your major in college?
So I have a major in psychology, but I have a double minor in forensic science and sociology.
Wow, that's amazing. Tell me more about how that applies directly to marketing.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, even the forensic science piece tied into, I always like to solve puzzles. But from the psychology and sociology pieces, I liked understanding what influenced people's behaviors, what kind of guided them to do a certain thing or think a certain way. And so as I started to get into marketing, first I started in market research and then getting into marketing itself. What are those things that influence behavior? So from your language, your tone, your colors, your imagery, your layout, everything.
Yeah.
And then it all has a psychological component to it in what causes people to react that way. So it actually kind of brought it full circle, bringing the problem solving and the behavioral influence together into marketing automation somehow.
It's pretty interesting how the two things correlate. I don't think that enough people put the emphasis in the psychological aspect of marketing that needs to be there, because to some extent, you want to be knowledgeable about what happens in the mind of people that consume content. And that's, in the end, that's the basis of how we collect data, by sharing content, no matter how it's shared. It could be email marketing, it could be content on social media, it could be commercials. In the end, it's all geared towards collecting data, and then how that data gets managed is what eventually flows its way through your funnels and cycles into the hands of salespeople. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about that's very interesting that you went from psychology to data. I do want to know, when did you learn that Marketo was the platform for you?
I would say probably at my previous organization, we had rapidly gone from one platform to another and then outgrew that in under a year. And so we were looking at Marketo compared to a couple of different other platforms. And there was just something about it, the look, the feel, the function, and how it aligned with how we thought as marketers. That kind of felt like the natural choice for us. And so that was ultimately the decision that we made. And once I got in there and got my hands in it a little bit more, and I sort of realized the power and the potential that it had, that was when I really just kind of dove in head first.
Got excited.
Yeah, I was like, how far can I go with this? How fast can I run? And that was kind of the start of my Marketo journey, was like full speed ahead.
Yeah. How long ago was that?
That was about 6 years ago now.
Okay, so it's come a long way, I'm sure, up in your brain, like how much knowledge you've accumulated about marketing and data and Marketo specifically. I can only imagine what that looks like when you sit down across from somebody that's just logging into Marketo for the first time. You're like, oh, is it overwhelming for you sometimes to feel like you have so much knowledge that you just want to dump on somebody?
It is, but at the same time, I also remember that feeling of being new and looking in there going, whoa. And not even knowing where to start. And I do still feel that way sometimes. I mean, even after all these years in, I'm still learning new things every single day about Marketo.
Yeah, I'm told it never ends. It's quite the platform. So
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, even there's a Slack channel for some of the biggest power users.
oh, I didn't know that.
And yeah, so sometimes somebody will throw something out there like, hey, I'm trying to figure out how to do this. And you'll hear 3 or 4 voices chime up with different ideas and different suggestions.
Sure.
And it's like, oh, I never thought about it that way.
That's
Or-
always good to
Yeah.
be that person that has that insight and somebody goes, oh, thank you so much. That changed everything for me. I
Yeah.
love that. Tell me about what it's like to be a Marketo champion. What does it mean to be a champion? And what happens to your career when you become a Marketo champion?
Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest thing about being a champion, you get chosen for a champion not only for the expertise that you have, but then actually taking that information and sharing it back to the community, or
Nice.
sort of championing the knowledge.
Yeah.
And being thought of in that way, and then also being a part of that group. I mean, you're with a group of people who are so passionate about what they do and sharing their knowledge that it becomes a sort of hive mind sometimes.
Hive mind, I
in,
like
in the
that.
best sort of way.
Yeah. Not in the zombie way.
Yeah, right. But once you're a part of that group, and you kind of get that status, so to speak, some of the opportunities that come with that. I mean, speaking at Summit was a big one. That was kind of always a dream for me.
It was a great presentation. I enjoyed it
thank
very
you.
much.
But I mean, that was kind of like a career aspiration. Things I would love to do someday, speak at Marketo Summit, and then lo and behold, it becomes Adobe Summit.
Right.
But even just being able to connect with some of the thought leaders in my space, and be able to look at those people as peers, as colleagues, and as friends now, many of them, it's been wonderful. It's been a great group to be a part of.